Hi everyone! So April is a big birthday month in our household. I have 3 younger brothers, 2 of which's birthday are at the end of April, and of course it is my beloved fiance Ted's birthday coming up on Thursday. So got to get a birthday cake in there somewhere, and I thought I'd go for a really big Bruce Bogtrotter style cake. I can't say that. Bruce Bogtrotter. I never noticed that was so hard to say. It probably isn't, it's probably just me. Anyway, big chocolate cake is what I'm trying to say. I am going to use my beloved trusty KitchenAid with a battle paddle attachment here. I'll show you one of these. You could just use a big mixing bowl with an electric whisk, or if you're feeling, can't get it back on. If you're feeling particularly strong, you can piece it all together yourself by hand. So to start with, I am just going to basically make a basic cake mixture. So I have here, I'm using, with all my cakes, I basically use, I basically use all the same quantities of ingredients. So everything here, pretty much other than the powders, are 200 grams. So I have 200 grams of softened butter. That's going to go in here. And then to that I'm going to add 200 grams of caster sugar. And I'm going to beat that together on a fairly low speed, just until it's really nicely combined. There we go, it's looking really great and fluffy. Fluffy is the term. To that, I am going to add some lovely rich ingredients to make this a really, really moist, stodgy, fudgy chocolate cake. So rather than just adding some cocoa powder, which you could do, I'm going to add, this is 200 grams of dark chocolate that I've melted. So in that goes, hugging my KitchenAid here. Okay, and I am going to add, this is one of my favourite cheats ingredients. This is ready-made salted caramel sauce, which is really yummy. It smells so good. So, I'll just use this. This is 260 grams in this tub, so I'm just going to scoop out a rough 200 grams of it. I'm not going to bother weighing it. I'm just going to leave a bit in the pot for me to eat later. In you go. A little bit more. That would do. And now, same again, beat these until everything's combined. Okay, now this is already looking really yummy. But what I'm going to do now is just, I'm hoping none of that drops down, take a spoon and just scrape down the edges just to make sure that everything is going to be combined properly. Okay, back in. Now what I'm going to start doing is adding the eggs. So I have 3 eggs here, 3 large eggs, which comes to about 200 grams, roughly. And I have 200 grams of self-raising flour. Now to that, I am actually going to add a teaspoon of baking powder as well. Because we're adding the melted chocolate and the caramel sauce, that's going to add quite a lot of weight to the mixture. So you normally wouldn't add extra baking powder to self-raising flour, because that's what self-raising flour is. It's flour with baking powder in it. But I think this could do with a little extra boost just to hold it up. So a teaspoon of this, and I'm also going to add, just for extra chocolatiness, not that we needed it, a teaspoon of cocoa powder, if I can get the lid off. There we go. Now when you start to add the eggs to the mixture, I've done that really badly. No, I can't get it off. Oh, this is going to go everywhere. There we go. Okay. When you start to add the eggs to the mixture can look like it's splitting. So to help prevent that, what I'm going to do is every egg that I add, I'm going to add a spoonful of this sort of flour mixture that will help prevent it from splitting. If it does look like it starts to split a little bit, don't worry at all. It'll all come together in the pan and it'll be absolutely fine. So I am going to be very naughty and crack my eggs straight into the bowl. Now, I remember at school really being told off for this, because they'd be like, what if you got a bad egg and then you've ruined your whole mixture? I'm just really lazy. I just don't crack them into a glass first and then pour them in. I'm trusting you, Marks and Spencers, that your eggs are fresh, well, as fresh as supermarket eggs get, are fresh and don't have any bad eggs in it. So, wish me luck. So, 1 egg in, and a spoonful of flour, and then again, beat all of that together. So when I'm beating in the egg and flour, I start on the lowest speed possible, because if you suddenly go quickly, all your flour is going to go whoo, and you're going to have a cloud of flour. But then you want to slowly build up the speed, still to a sort of low-medium speed. You don't need to really whip this together, but to really get that egg combined. So my KitchenAid goes from 1 to 10 in 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And I go 1, 2, and then 4. And you can, do the same if you're using a handheld electric whisk. So, second egg in, same again. Spoonful of flour. Here we go. Final egg in. Spoonful of flour. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, all of our eggs are in, I'm going to add the majority of the rest of the flour, leaving just about another tablespoon left, and I'll explain why in a second. So there's about a generous tablespoon left. Beat all of that in. Disaster! So there I was, filming away, and I suddenly noticed that my camera had turned itself off and HD card full, no more film. Rubbish. But you didn't miss much. So basically what we had just done was added most of the rest of the flour, bar a generous tablespoon, and we beat all of that in. I took the bowl out, scraped down the sides, re-beat everything together. And the reason I left a tablespoon of flour is I like to loosen my cake mixture a little bit with just a little bit of milk. I find it helps it rise better. So what I did was I added 50 mils of milk, just regular milk to the mixture, and then the rest of the flour, which helps stop it from splitting like the flour did with the eggs, and then beat that all together again. And here we are. We are at cake mixture stage. That I'm just going to give one final beating. And give it really quite a good beating this time on quite a high speed. You want to whip some air into there before we put it into the pan and into the oven. Okay, there we go, looking good. Right, scrape down the cake batter and give it a final sort of scrape down of all the sides and mix it all together. Okay, looking good. So here I have a 9-inch big cake tin. I am actually going to make this into a layer cake, but I'm going to bake it as a whole cake together, and then I'm going to slice it before ganaching it. But that's coming later. So, in we go. Okay, so give it a spread about, level it off. And there we go. Okay, so this is going to go into the oven. A cake this size, we're probably looking at about 40 minutes, which does seem like quite a long cake time, but you really want that to rise up nicely and cook all the way through. If you're worried about it going too brown on top at any stage, you can always cut a little disc of greaseproof paper or even baking foil, cut a little cross in the top so steam can get out and lay it over the top. But I like to put it in and just keep it going without anything on the cover to really allow it to rise first of all. I have my oven set to 180 degrees C, which is fan, and we'll see you back in 40 minutes. Okay, so the cake has had 40 minutes in the oven, actually a smidgen longer, probably about close to 45 minutes. We're going to take it out and have a look at it. It's a beast! It's a beast, but I have a feeling it's not cooked, just because of the way it's wobbly. I'm going to plunge, what I'm going to do is plunge a knife into it. Oh yeah, loads of wet cake batter coming out of there. I think I highly underestimated how long this mammoth cake was going to take. The outside is just starting to darken ever so slightly, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover it with a little disc of tin foil, and I'm going to pop it back in the oven. I would say this probably needs at least another 15 minutes. Okay, so we are back, and I think we are looking much better. So in the knife goes. And yeah, no wet cake batter coming back at all. So that is perfect. What I'm going to do is just leave it in its tin for 5 minutes just to cool in its tin before trying to take it out. When you very first take it out of the oven, it's going to be quite wobbly and a little bit unstable. The cooler the cake gets, the more stable the cake gets. Don't worry if it sinks down a bit, because we're going to slice it up, we're going to bump it up with some ganache, and it's going to be great. So I'll be back in 5 minutes to take it out of its tin. Okay, so our cake has had 5 minutes out of the oven. It's still a little warm, so you're going to want to use a tea towel still. Now this is probably a very bad idea to attempt on camera, but we're going to go with it. We're going to try and take the cake out of the cake tin. And what you want is you want something that's narrower than the cake. This is a loose bottom cake tin pan. Probably should have mentioned that before. Please use a loose bottom cake tin pan, it makes it a lot easier. So narrower, so that when you put it down, but also you want something taller than the cake tin itself. So we are going to pull the cake tin up and rest it on the jug, and hopefully, oh, there we go. That comes down, and we can peel away our cake. Don't worry if some of it gets stuck underneath, we'll do the underneath later. Ooh, it's going to be quite slippery on there as well, so be careful. You don't want your precious cake to go flying. That's looking pretty good. Okay, now I never know whether it's best to take off the bottom layer now or let it cool until later. Yeah, I'm going to go with now. Why not? Live on the edge. Okay, so I am going to flip the cake into my hand and moving quite quickly, take the bottom off, remove this, and then get this and go back. Ta-da! Okay, that could have been smoother. And unfortunately I did squish the cake a little bit, but it's okay because we are, like I said, we can fix all of that with a big ganache. Now don't worry about the fact that around this side, for example, where it's at the back of the oven, it's slightly burnt. We are going to be icing this cake and we're going to be filling it, so we can easily shave this off once it's all nice and cool. But, oh, cake all over me. All that's left to do now is you want this to completely cool before you do anything else with it. So I'm going to leave it for at least an hour, and then we'll be back to cut it and layer it and stuff it and all of that.